style of the form. Its core form, it is a form of Qigong, and it's a breath and movement form, and it's the fundamental foundation form for the style. So it is an important part of the specific style that we're doing. The feet are 90 degrees. A lot of the premises of the geometry and position that I teach, whether it's in Tai Chi or Kung Fu, all has its ideas and concepts based on many of the things that we do here. So fundamentals, warm-ups, all that training and drilling that we do in our traditional forms has a framework built around this style, mainly because it appears to be very simple, but simple things become valuable tools in your progress, and really fundamentals are the key. Fundamentals are like the scales to music, or the ABCs to writing, ABCs to the vocabulary. So when we do these movements, it's very important to understand them and accomplish, part of the goal and mission of doing these exercises, to build body positioning, body understanding, which builds body intelligence, and the framework based on the geometry of position. So we have a body, our skeleton is a framework, and the skeleton, which is the framework, is what we use as sizes and positions of our body. Sizes, positions, angular positions, muscle memory is all tied to proprioception. And proprioception is knowing your body in space and understanding the control of your musculature to create this kind of control. So, with that said, we start with the shoulder width stance, and we do this. And we keep it loose. And we focus, eyes follow the hands. Okay? We don't have to do, trillions of these exercises at one setting, but we should be doing them over time consistently. So it's a little each day, sort of keeps the doctor away. They do that with, it's a saying, but it's usually an apple. So they have a term in finance called dollar cost averaging. This is exercises done in that way, cost averaging. So if you do these exercises over time, you will see the benefit. Okay? So it's kind of putting in some effort to get some results, and your hands are here, and we go to the center and down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just cycle through these movements. Movements are a motor skill, so as we do these over and over again, your body starts to pick up on the movement. So if you did this over the past few weeks or the past few months following the class, I'm sure your movements have improved based on doing it and seeing it and then experiencing what it takes to understand and refine the movement. It is a little bit different from everything you're doing, in a sense that you're doing movements that are so unique compared to everything else that you're doing in some of the other martial arts. Okay, now we're here. Let's cross the hands. So there's a movement going out to the side. Some of you doing this will say, which hand is on top? Actually, you can alternate the hands. One right side on top, then left side on top. Or if you want to focus on one side, that's fine too. So the thing is, you can do both, just to balance the movement. Okay, so we did a series of those. So that's crossing the center line, and the center line is here. And we go out to the side. All right. The first two we just did here. These are pairs of movement. These are singular movements on each side. So this is to the center, and this is to the center, center to center. This goes to a curve position, which is your half hoop or the lower hoop. All right? So now we're going to stand and flap the wings. That's just keeping the shoulders relaxed. So one of the reasons why we do a lot of these drills without a lot of strength or a lot of physical excessiveness is because we're trying to build balance and motion. And balance and motion really has to do with response and how your body reacts to it. So if your tendency is to respond, or respond excessively or overreact, then your body's going to become a little bit tense. And that overreaction is caused by tension or overreaction. So to overcome some of that, you have to try to avoid that overreactive state, and that really helps you develop a more gentle and calmer movement and really build that balance and motion, because motion really is truly balanced. Folding and unfolding your musculature really has to do with the relationship. So that's really, something that our body needs to understand. But before the body can understand it, you have to take that information and understand it. So what you're working toward is to develop balance and sensitivity from an experience. That experience is part of the journey of what a martial artist goes through, is that you're experiencing through reproducing a motion or a movement, and then over time begin to understand that movement based on a supporting principle. So movements are not just randomly thrown out there simply to create some kind of action. There is a very specific way of doing it. There's a very specific position, and that's what muscle memory is. That's what joint angle positions are. So when we step out like this and we go through the center, we're working the joint all the way to the shoulder. So we emphasize making that big circle, but it's really working our ligaments and tendons. Okay? The ligaments and tendons are something that really is part of our connective tissue in the joint areas. There's cartilage, there's muscle connective tissue that's all tied to that. So we move these areas, even though when we do a lot of exercises, we don't pay attention to what we're doing there, but when in martial arts or in what we're doing here is really heightening our awareness of body position. Understanding that is really a deeper learning, you have a deeper understanding, but ligaments and tendons have to be manipulated and controlled to get our joints in the right position. If the joint is out of position or, out of position for a specific motion, your tendency is going to be wearing out the joint or injuring the joint. And there's no getting around that. Okay, it's like your joints in the car, maybe your universal joints and so forth. If there's a misalignment in your tires or there's a misaligning in your drive shaft and it's putting excessive pressure or wear on areas, it's going to be wearing out that joint. So if you misalign your joint and you try to force it to move it, and the difference with the joint, even a universal has multi-dimension, our joints actually are manipulated by our motor skill or our musculature. So what our brain tells the body to do is really informing that joint that this is what we want to do as an intent. So if your body doesn't understand what it's doing, the chance of injury is going to be more likely, and maybe not apparent initially, but it'll be apparent later on because you put wear and tear on your joints. So that applies to your knees, it applies to your hips, it applies to every other joint in your body, simply because you can move, but you can wear the joint out depending on what kind of stress you're putting on it. So this for the long-term athletes that do a lot of running, a lot of impact on the ground, all of that stuff becomes something that you find out later on that you have damaged your joint from the impact, from the misalignment of body. If you're a weightlifter and you put a lot of excessive weights on the joint, you can try to rebuild and recover the body, but the thing is, once you injure it and damage it, the option is to replace it. So I don't think replacing a joint is the way to go, but that's really an individual choice. In fact, I met a guy who replaced his knees. He says, it's great. I'm going to play like this forever, and I'm going to replace it again because he just enjoys getting a new joint. So, I don't know if that's something that I would want to do. I wouldn't prescribe that. But anyways, now we're here. This is softer, and you go through. So this is drilling. Now, if you're practicing this movement, if you're concerned with palm strikes, face, and Tai Chi, or the dragon claw, this is the exercise that will help support that movement. So if you are interested in knowing how palm strikes face works, which is something in Tai Chi, then that's your position. If you're interested in changing of the palms, that's what this is. So when you're turning, it's really building the direction of movement, the pattern of movement, and how accurately you can recreate that motion. So that's what we do in these exercises, is to recreate the movement and develop accuracy of position. And sounds great. The ideas are there, but the thing is, you only can do what you want it to do by doing it. So this is really effort. You put time in, you get the benefit over time. So it is a function of time. Your body really has to go through this whole metamorphosis to change what it begins from and changes through its understanding of what the body needs to go through. So essentially, you're programming your body to do this. Okay. So you're drilling right in through the center. Okay. So you notice that it's not a lot of strength, but it is folding, unfolding the body. And the body responds based on what it thinks it's doing. And then over time, because we're not using excessive force and we're allowing the body to accommodate the position, then it allows your joints to be manipulated and realigned based on the way it should be moving. And the fact that you're not using a lot of strength and you're not doing it fast and you're not forcing it, your ability to accommodate the motion is going to be much better. So just bear in mind, not too much strength, but you have to put effort into it. So effort and strength are things that you have to kind of work in balance. Okay, well, now we're going to stand like this, bend the knees, put the foot here, and we have the yin-yang foot. So yin and yang means toe in, toe out, toe in, toe out, and that's driven from here. Okay, so we just do a few of these. It gives you some balance, control, and you're working the muscle groups that require you to go up and down. So this is actually something that will help balance, but it also helps you develop some mobility in the joint. So while all of us know that what we're learning is a martial art, not everybody is going out there and applying it specifically as a fighting technique or a pugilistic art. We practice the movement to create the movement. The functionality of the joint is as important as the functionality of the movement. So if we're manipulating the skeletal structure correctly, then we have the mobility in the joint. How we apply it and actually realistically apply it is something else. It's something you can train on and practice, but the end goal is actually to become an intelligent body with, a goal of a quality of life being, if you have the fortunate genetics to live a long life, you don't want to be inactive or incapable of moving, because this is really what I call the prevention of age-related degeneration, learning to move your body the way it's designed to. Okay, now, we have a position like this, and we have a position like this. Right? So this is palm down. This is hands up, in like this. So, our body has positions, and if you know different styles, you will find and recognize a lot of these positions. And this is like deep breathing. Okay. Falling in, deep breathing. So these are hand transitions. Okay, so when we start off with this and go to center line, we have a position. And when this hand goes out and then presses down and this hand goes out, this is the hand movement for Yeti-kun. Okay, so you're 1, 2, 1, 2. That's it. Just those two movements. Right? 1, so it's vertical like this. Fingertips are with the thumb up is like this. Thumb is pointing toward the ring finger of the hand. This goes to here. It's a fairly vertical down press. Elbows not completely locked per se. And then that's something that is the muscle memory too. Not locking the joint, hyperextending that joint is not what we're doing. Hyperextending the joint will damage the joint over time. And you're like this. So some people actually have hyperextension as a natural thing, so you learn to not hyperextend the joint. And this is like this. This hand is along the side here, approaching this direction. This hand goes down, and then this hand turns out like this. And it's shoulder height, or maybe a little bit higher toward the nose, and then this hand goes down. 1, 2. Have we ever heard of the center line and the nose? So that's actually a couple of terms we use a lot, because that's using your nose as the center line and also the height of the movement. So you'll inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, now we're going to step out like this. Okay, we see what I just did? The feet are like this, and it goes in. Now, this is not mirror image. I'm doing the right side. So mirror image would be this. Okay, so I would be like this. Okay, so we're here. So this would be mirror image. And then this goes like that. And our knees are bent. So to see that real mirror image, you would have to actually look here. So this hand is like this, and this hand is like this. Okay. So you have the mirror image, if I were facing, would be like this. You see. And then, so you have two hands. One's like this, and then these hands are like this. Then you have this one here, or this one, and then you have these. So that's the two sides. But we're not doing this. We're not doing this, or this, and this. They're doing one of each on each side. So that's why this is very challenging for most people, because it does take a whole different wiring of the brain, because the brain wants to see and do things in pairs. It's like the simplest thing to do. And if I did it like that, you could follow this very easily. Okay. If I did this, you could follow it very easily. But the thing is, you can't really benefit from doing it like that when the form is like this. So you inhale here, exhale here. Okay. So when you take the step, which is like this, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now here, turn, fold, shift, adjust, and thrust. Okay, so that's the side position. See what I just did is I came from here. Let's do it this way. 1, 2, 3. Just once. Inhale, exhale. Now we're going to take the step. Inhale, exhale. Take the step. Inhale, exhale. Take the step. Inhale, exhale. Bring it down, turn, and fold. Turn, thrust. Now the next movement, I'm going to drop. Okay, I'm going to face the mirror. I'm going to turn like this and extend like that. Okay, so what happens? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's no step there. It's just a transition. It goes from 1, 2, 3. And then I step. Inhale, exhale. So that sets you up for the next movement, which is going to be stepping again. So there's a little bit of a tricky situation there where do you know when to step and when not to step. So it's really when you start off the form and you step out, the first movement, 1, 2, is in place. Okay? And then you initiate the step, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you turn to here, adjust, and you turn, move that foot forward, inhale, exhale, in place. Okay. So when we're here and I turn, that's the interim position. Here's the in place position, and then you step. Now, down again. Now I'm facing you to close. So how that looks in the mirror is we're here. In place. So we have this position. And we have this position. So this position is like this. So that essentially is all the movements in that first form, which is called Yat-He-Kun. I-Chi Chuan, or Yat-He is single breath. Chuan, like Tai Chi Chuan. Chuan means fist, but also the same term means routine. So that really is a routine. So we start off the form. I'm going to run through it 3 forward, 3 backwards. Or we're going to press like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's the complete form. So you just copy that, and depending on your space, you can go 3 forward, 5 forward, and as many as you want to go forward. Then when you turn around, you go back 5, and you can go another 5, and then end it, or just go based on trying to get back into your starting position. So that's just really up to you. But the idea is that it's very basic as far as the movements. It's when do you stay in a stationary position, when you take your first step. Just kind of figure that out, and that's really in the starting position. We have the first movement stationary within space. Then you do your first couple of steps. We turn, twist, get in position, do your first set of movements stationary, take your step, take your step, take your step, find your position, turn, find this position, take your step, stationary, could end at this point or do a couple more just to get back to where you are, depending on how many steps you went that way, and you close. Okay, so that's the basic form. Practice it more. Inhale when you take your step. Inhale when you're stationary. Exhale when you're like this. Okay, inhale, exhale. Exhale when you're like this. Inhale when you're like that. So that's something that takes some practice. And the thing is, when you practice it, like anything else that you would do, we're creatures of habit. When you do movements over and over again, it enters your subconscious motion, because that's how we learn motor skills, any type of thing that we do repetitiously. We program that into us, whether it's handwriting, woodworking, anything that requires a physical skill and sensitivity. So anything that we do that's refining becomes a sensitive training. So when we're doing martial arts training like forms, it's taking the posture, working through it, understanding it, refining it, allowing the body to adapt and evolve, because that's really what happens. When I do a bit of woodworking, so what your eye can see is not as good as what you can feel. So if I was working on a joint and I look at it, it looks like it's pretty smooth and complete. You could put your hand over that and notice that there could be a thousandth of an inch difference. So your feeling is actually more keen than the eyes. So a lot of times when we do our movements, what we see sometimes is not going to be as accurate and as keen as what actually it feels like to experience that motion. So when the hand is here and here and here, it's really something that you have to build off of. So the other thing is, when we're in this position, we have these movements. And we've been working on these for a while. So you could actually work it off of this foot position. Okay? Then we have these movements, and you can work it off the same stance. So we can step, step. So that's one set of movements. And we have this set of movements. Which can be done here in the forward stance. And we have this set of movements to the corner. And this movement would be in this stance. Okay, so that's those corners. Then we have these movements. Okay, on each side. So the cross. Now this goes to one corner, another corner, another corner, another corner, and to the center. Okay, so you can see how a lot of these positions are very unique and different from many of the other styles that you do. So the hand like this and the hand like this, these are just like any form that you would learn is a position, like brushing the knee or strumming the lute. These are all postures. So your body will learn over time what a posture represents and what a posture should feel like you're in that position. So in the muscle memory, when we're standing like this, or we're standing like this, or we're standing like this, our body starts to assimilate and experience that, and you start to recognize it. Okay? So with that said, this is the Mudang Yeti Nghamon class. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a system that's very unique, and it's a system that we're probably the only people in the country that's teaching it. So, I hope that's of interest to you. Thumbs up, subscribe. See you next time. And we're back to it on tomorrow, actually, Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.